Meeting to order at 6:34 on Monday, the 27th of September. This is the meeting of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. We have all members in attendance: Rich, Dan, Fred, and David Douglas. Nate is our board designate and secretary.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Pledge of Allegiance. Nate, do you have a flag for us, or?
Sure. Not used to doing that. How big is it? How big does it need to be? Oh, that's not good. Sorry. One sec. I don't know. What? How big is it usually?
Oh, it's I think any of them will do.
Okay.
Or all of them.
That's nice.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Liberty, justice for all.
Thank you, Nate, for giving us the flag.
You're welcome.
Okay. Additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda for tonight. Everybody okay with this agenda, or do we need to make any revisions?
No revisions.
Okay, and agenda accepted as presented. Let's see here. We have persons not present, not on the agenda. 3 minutes. Do we have anybody signed up?
I don't believe so, but I to be honest, I haven't checked, so no.
Okay.
But if anyone has any public comment, I don't know how if you just allow that anyway, or if Carolyn's speaking, if everyone on is speaking on specific subjects, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
we have, let's see, Adrian and Carolyn are invited guests from the standpoint of providing information and advising the committee tonight.
Okay.
So they will be included as we go through our agenda.
Okay.
I want to remind everyone who is not a member of the board or invited guest that this is the only opportunity for persons to speak. So just ask you to respect the rules of our meeting. Okay. Minutes from the last meeting. Good job on that, Nate. Thank you for preparing those for us. I like the format you've got there.
Yeah, that's what's used on a lot of the other ones, so I adopted it for this group.
Very good. I like it. So has everybody had a chance to review this? Any changes or of any kind? Well, if there are none, could I have a motion that we accept these minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Minutes accepted.
And Fred did mention that his audio is not working. I'm not sure if it I'll chat and see.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yep, I'm not having any problem.
Me neither.
Must be on.
That's loud and clear.
Fred, are you there? Can you hear us? Okay, I chatted with him. Let's see if he. Hmm. I just messaged him. Just suggest he try to reconnect maybe or something.
Yeah.
Will Angie be with us?
Who, Angie? No.
Okay.
There's Fred. Hey, Fred, can you hear us now? No. Sorry, I was trying to play with settings to see if I could make it work. Can you?
He's he is chatting with us and said he can't get his audio to work. So
Right.
could you go back, Nate, on the minutes where we were talking about this evacuation plan in the last meeting? Because we sort of went through what was required on the evacuation plan. And let me just review that real quickly. The request from the board was that we update the narrative and map to reflect rally points correctly, getting approval from the school district for use of the elementary school, updating the map to reflect the correct roads, and providing info to know which map to refer to depending on fire location, speaking to the fire department regarding methods of notification, approaching the owners of Joyland for use of their parking lot. Nate offered to talk to the school district about using the school as a rally point. Members agreed to write the draft of the narrative of the evac plan and would report to Douglas with changes for Douglas to compile. We then ruled out the temporary refuge zone, the school as a refuge zone. Then we were going to ask Joyland for them to let us use their property. Map reference, how to refer to specific map, evac plan. Should have narrative about which specific situations correspond to which evacuation map. Okay, so let's go to the evacuation plan then.
I think just to summarize, I changed some of this. So I kind of tried to describe the zones a little bit better. Obviously can't include every street, but I think anyone that's familiar with town will kind of know areas of town, hopefully by the streets. And then I basically added all this text, basically kind of saying, giving a little bit of explanation on when to use the plans, and then specifying that, like we talked about, the plan could change at any given time depending on whatever factors, and the official messaging is from the first responders, basically. So like Dan was saying last time at that during the critical, like when an evacuation is actually happening, I don't think people are gonna be reaching to look at the maps for direction, but it is a good thing to review, before anything happens, essentially.
Right.
And then I'm just trying, just real quick, the second section, the during. Oh, I did add this text here, just kind of explaining a little bit more about the temporary refuge zones. I thought was the best name we came up with last time. And then I just kind of corrected some just basic stuff, some just punctuation and grammar stuff throughout.
Okay. We did get approval from Jesse Stroop with Joyland to use that property. It's not a permanent grant of use. It depends on, of course, what happens with the development of the Joyland property. So,
Mhm.
there may be a point in time in the future, not in the near future, but we may have to revise that. But for now, we can use the parking lot of Joyland for a refuge zone.
Okay. And I added that to the description because I think last time I had town hall / fire station, and I think probably it's a bad idea to suggest people go to the fire station in such an event. So,
Bad idea.
so I changed it to town hall, Joyland Church, and all the descriptors for that,
Mhm. Yeah.
and kind of just added a little bit of explanation to the map, but that's about it. I changed El Paso Avenue East. I added that. I think there's some confusion because if you look at all the addressing from the county for this whole section, most of them say El Paso Avenue without the east, and permits and things like that often refer to it just as El Paso Avenue. So I kind of just had both in there just to cover the bases.
Mhm.
Of that street name. So that was about all I did there for all those changes.
Okay, so we have an A and a B and a C evac zone plan.
Plans, yes, the maps themselves. Yep.
Are we taking questions? Are we
Yes.
taking questions? Oh, okay. I just want, so let me make sure. So the A zone, B zone, is that, you use one of those zones depending on where the fire is coming from or from where you live or what?
That's from where you
Why
live.
would you? So if you're coming, okay, so if I live on Belvedere, I know to go, I take either A or B. I'm in zone A, right?
No, you're in,
Yeah.
you're in Belvedere?
Yeah, you're in zone A. The zones are basically just split, or just essentially split the town in two. And really, there's only three options to evacuate the town. There's either everyone goes north to 24 west, or everyone goes south southeast to 24 east, or
Can't hear
in
you.
the event that a fire is coming from the west, then it's a split. So there's really those three options to refer to.
Okay, my internet is screwing up. Nate, maybe we could talk about this, so just so I understand.
Okay.
Some other time. Would that be
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Are we done? I had another question. I don't know if this is the time to bring it up or not, but I know that we've been talking about how to notify people if something, and I know you had the sirens and stuff. Have we thought about also, well, we've talked about email and texting, but I was also thinking, I wonder if some people may also be using Twitter and what is it, Instagram or something like that. I didn't know if we should consider incorporating those as well. I don't use them, but
Hey, Carolyn, this is Dan. No, I think that's a great idea. One, you use as many avenues as you can. And believe it or not, Twitter has actually shown really good success in other areas as a pretty good way to use social media as an evacuation notification. So I would say that that's something that is definitely food for thought. Also, I saw that that Fred had mentioned that he talked to Chief Murphy, and Chief Murphy had mentioned trying to get everybody signed up for, I believe it was reverse 911. Things like that are all ways that we should be looking at trying to notify people, in addition to the old-fashioned siren system.
okay, good. That's perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
So is this something that we as a committee want to take up in subsequent meeting in terms of really drilling down on a notification plan that is in addition to the siren, which we don't have and probably will not have for a some number of months, as a next step? Because frankly, I don't know, I wouldn't know how to go about signing people up, or how to go about signing up for the reverse 911, or what is required in order to use Twitter as a notification method. Does anybody know that right off the top of your head?
During evacuation, the county sheriff uses Twitter for evacuation notices. So if it comes through the county sheriff, the Twitter account will reflect it. Reverse 911, you have to go to E911, punch in your address, your phone number, and they'll put you in the system automatically.
So
Is it E911? Is that it?
Yes, E911, that's the emergency dispatch system. You can go in there and look up reverse 911. You put your address, name, and all your information in there, and you're automatically connected to it.
Okay, so all I do is, this is on computer, I go to E911, or on my phone, I
Yes.
go to E.
On your computer.
Hmm.
On your computer, go to E911, El Paso County
That's all.
Emergency 911,
Okay,
and just look for reverse 911 notification. And it'll give you paperwork to fill out, and you're put on the list.
perfect.
And I
This is
guess-
all something. Go ahead.
yeah, I guess this raises a topic that we need to get that information out to people somehow so that they know how to sign up for it. I'm sure Steve Murphy probably knows a good way to get that information out. I can also talk to the folks at the Pikes Peak Emergency Management and see what they suggest as far as whether or not the town of Green Mountain Falls should set up their own Twitter account to do evac notices, or if we're going to leave that up to the county sheriff.
I don't think you're gonna be able to get the town to do it. County sheriff has a 24-hour notification system. The town does not have a 24-hour notification system, nor do they have anybody working 24 hours.
Okay.
I could draw up some instructions just for people to, sign up instructions basically, and then we can add it to the whatever web presence we talk about, I guess, later on.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea that way.
okay. So does anybody have an idea of what who is responsible ultimately from the town, what's the town's responsibility in organizing and managing the execution of an evacuation plan and coordination with the regional emergency agencies?
That should be done through the town manager. They have an emergency plan within the town, and it should follow that.
So the town has an emergency plan, and the town manager is responsible for executing according to that plan?
The way it was written, yes. I don't know if it's changed or not, but there is an emergency plan within the town.
Okay. Because the question was asked at the Board of Trustees meeting when we reviewed this last time, that for the temporary refuge zones, once people get there, if they're on foot and they wind up there, who's going to tell them what to do? And I didn't really have an answer for that. Somebody, I think, said that that's the town manager's job, is to make sure that that location, having been designated as a refuge zone, should have plans to have someone there to help direct people.
Yeah, on the emergency plan, I think the town should have one there, someone there to direct them either where to go or provide for transportation out of the area or something of that nature.
Okay.
It would be difficult for a fire mitigation committee to set up that type of system. In
Mhm.
other words, the mitigation committee could not run down and say, okay, I'm here, this is where you go, and this is what we're
Yeah.
gonna do. It needs to be in the emergency management portion of the town.
And is that, I don't, is this written down somewhere? Because I would think that'd be more of a marshal or a fire department function versus.
No, it's not, you gotta leave the fire department out of this. They're not a part of the town. You have to understand the fire department is a district.
I understand that, but they're gonna be the ones responding, not the town manager.
They're gonna be
to-
responding to the fire. It's gonna be involved very little with the fire department's gonna be involved with emergency evacuation. They're gonna be headed to the fire.
It,
And-
it depends a lot on the scope and the size of the fire, but
Yeah.
once the fire department and all first responders, whether that be EMS, fire, or law enforcement, at some point there's going to be established some kind of either a unified command or just simply a command structure for the incident, right? No matter how small the incident no matter how small the incident is, there's going to be an incident commander, right? And they're going to expand and contract their incident management team as they see fit and how to handle the incident. If we have if I'm the incident commander of this fire, and I'm starting to notice that there's a need for personnel to address evacuees, that's going to be part of the incident command structure. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the fire department or the marshal or any kind of law enforcement. Really, it just kind of, it's going to have to probably be something that gets established in the moment, for lack of a better term, because really, like we said last meeting, that those temporary refuge areas are for, the escape routes have been cut off by fire or by, some kind of a blockage in the egress, and they're having to take emergency refuge there, right? It's not a long-term situation, but there is a possibility for people to be stuck there and then need direction. So it's going to fall under the incident command for them to deal with that. They will have to assign somebody, or they're just going to have to come up with something, some kind of a fix to help people who are evacuees there.
And
Once it
all this
becomes-
stuff takes time. It's not something that happens within 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 2 hours mostly. Normally what's going to happen up here, if it's a large incident, we have a large fire, it's going to be turned over to the county sheriff. In which case the Office of Emergency Management will take over the incident. Now, this gets into a lot of mutual aid agreements and everything else that the town government should be and was involved in. I believe they still are. The fire department has mutual aid agreements throughout the county, well, throughout 2 counties, actually throughout the state. So if they need further assistance, they're going to start calling, but it takes a while for it to get here.
Yeah.
So it's something that develops in a long range process. If it's a small fire or starts as a small fire within the district, you can pretty much figure that the fire department's resources are going to be committed to the fire. And that's going to be a small incident command right there at the fire. Now, if it spreads and they cannot stop it, they'll start calling for help, and then that incident will expand. As it expands, then another agency will take it over. Normally, it's going to be the county sheriff, because the county sheriff is responsible for all wildland fires within the unincorporated areas of the county. The Forest Service will come in as well. So it gets complicated, and if we try to put all this stuff in this plan, it's going to take away from the plan.
Well,
So,
and
Rich, I appreciate you saying that, because what I was sitting here thinking is from this committee's responsibility for coming up with an evacuation plan,
Yes.
have we met the requirements and the limits of what we can do as this committee?
I would say yes, Dave.
would say yes as well.
Yeah, we've done that. I feel like we could go further into the actual notification streams. You know, we could give suggestions to the town as to, you know, how we would like to utilize Twitter or things like that. But as far as the incident management, yeah, that's not something that we really need to address. That's something that's it's going to happen the day of the incident. And I can tell you that if you have an incident, a fire that's large enough to warrant evacuations, El Paso County is going to be involved immediately. I'm going to be there with El Paso County. Also, all your mutual aid partners, your local mutual aid partners, that being Teller County Task Force, they're all going to be notified. So it's not going to be just Green Mountain Falls Fire Department that's having to deal with this. They may have it for, 20 minutes, but within 20 minutes, you're going to have county resources. You're going to have mutual aid partners from Teller County and from El Paso County. So you'll have a lot more firefighters and people here than just Green Mountain Falls. So just understand that's kind of how it would look.
Yeah, and it's looking in the past when we had the Wallow Canyon fire, this area got evacuated, but we weren't impacted by the fire. And I look at this as much as a fire coming from an outside area into the town as I do from the town trying to get out.
Yeah.
If it's from the outside of the town, there's going to be a lot of resources involved almost immediately. But the evacuation plan is to get people out of the area into areas where they should be and not remain in this area, whether it be in town or whether it be within the surrounding area. It could be in Woodland Park blowing down the pass and everybody have to leave.
Right.
So
So
I think we met that small scope.
okay. Because I kind of have gotten to the point where I feel like there needs to be a point where we do our work up to this point, and from here it belongs to sort of the next level of authority.
Yeah, and there's things we could help with, and we've talked about it in the past. Notification systems. There's so many of them out there, and like I say, notification comes from a lot of different places. Reverse 911 up here is really a good one. I think during the Wallow Canyon fire, most people got the notification either from their television or from Reverse 911.
So should this committee's responsibility then be to inform the town residents that they should sign up for Reverse 911?
Yeah, that would be a part of this committee. I mean, it's a notification process. We've already talked about the siren, and it doesn't look like we can get that anytime soon. Reverse 911 is probably one of the best ways to go. And the reason being, you can put whatever phone numbers you want in there. You can put your home phone number in there, or you can put your cell phone number in there, or you can put both in there. Reverse 911 will go to both of them. Reverse 911 also can go to a zone, like in Zone A. Let's say we want to evacuate everybody in Zone A, which is the other side of Honda. That can be put into Reverse 911, go to only those houses.
Okay. Okay.
Would it be going beyond boundaries if we were just to, I kind of feel like, I'm not sure, I want to know who on the other side in the town government is working on this and if they've thought of everything. And I just wondered if we could make recommendations or something to that effect.
The town made an emergency plan about, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago. And it was part of the town ordinances, and it should still be there. I think you could go into the town and look for the emergency plan, and there would be stuff in there. Who's responsible for what? It's not our responsibility as an evacuation committee to say, okay, we're taking on that responsibility because we can't do it. It's not.
So should the evacuation plan, number one, it should probably say, here's what you can do now, sign up for Reverse 911. That should be probably the best source of standard information. But then also number two, maybe refer to this other, if something to the effect of if a fire actually happens or an incident is going on, El Paso County will likely be the incident command, in charge, or please reference the town's emergency plan if you want to know more about the town's procedures. I just don't.
Well, the town's emergency plan is written, is all encompassing. It's not written just for fire. It's written for floods. It's written for fire. It's written for civil unrest. It's written for snowstorms. It should be covering several things. And I know it was there because I worked with the county on drafting a part of that. But it should be there. And if it's not, somebody dropped the ball somewhere down past the line. I don't know where.
All right, well, I can research that, and if it's important to reference, I mean, obviously at some point it's important to reference, but I think that people don't necessarily need to know every specific detail. They just want to know that, okay, who's likely going to be in charge of a large fire, and who do I listen to, and how do I get notifications?
Yeah, I think the things we need to stick to is writing the plan, the evacuation plan. We need to come up with notification things. We need to come up with structure hardening, things that they can do prior and after. And then, of course, the emergency plan. And then after that, it's pretty much up to the town to either adopt a plan or whatever. Like Batten said earlier, there's a building codes and stuff that we could look at, but that's getting beyond our scope. And it gets rather complicated.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
the best thing I think we can do is to help educate people as to how to sign up for ways they can get notified, and then give them this plan, and then notify the town that, this is what we think is going to work best for our town. And then, I mean, that's basically it. And then the other stuff is fuels mitigation and, maybe some signage. We can do stuff like that.
And how far do they want us to go? How much do they want us to be involved? Realize we're only looking at a fire emergency plan, but an overall emergency plan includes everything. So they have to have that plan, and this has to be incorporated into that plan.
I don't know if this helps, but I copied, this is the actual town ordinance of the FMAC's mission here. So I don't know if that helps now or later, but basically here it is: to advise the board of trustees and to coordinate with El Paso County Emergency Management, the Colorado State Patrol, and other government agencies on fire related issues affecting the town, and to notify a notification and evacuation plan for the community. That's pretty much it right there, the way it was established. So sometimes it helps just to kind of review that, kind of bring it down to the basics of what we're really need to do or try to do.
Yeah, and see us coordinating as a fire mitigation committee with the El Paso County Emergency Management.
Yeah.
That should be done by town hall as a part of their overall emergency management plan. Because realize this is a part of that plan, but it's not the whole plan.
Okay.
So they need to, the town needs to establish that.
Yeah, and I mean, if the town is giving us the authority to coordinate, then they're giving us the authority. We need to, I guess, maybe clarify that, because that's certainly something I can do. I mean, I work in the same building as Pikes Peak Regional Emergency Management, so I can certainly be at least a liaison and coordinating some efforts. But yeah, it's really something that maybe we should clarify with the city council. Are they giving us the authority to speak on behalf of the town, or are they wanting to be involved? I'm assuming they would want some sort of involvement, but I don't know.
Well, they need to decide how much involvement they want because we can get really heavily involved.
Well,
And,
I mean, and that's
Well,
if they're
I don't
truly
even
giving us,
understand. Yeah,
Go
I don't
ahead, David.
understand what this even means when I read it.
Don't either.
It's very vague. To advise the Board of Trustees and to coordinate with the El Paso Emergency Management, the Colorado State Patrol, and other governmental agencies on fire-related issues affecting the town. What does that mean, to advise the town and to coordinate with these?
Evacuation plan.
I mean,
Which-
My interpretation of this is that, we inform the governmental agencies and partners that would be involved in a fire-related emergency in this town. We would inform them what our plans are, what we're doing, things like that.
okay.
That's how I would interpret this.
So once this is approved by the Board of Trustees, this evacuation and notification plan, then it would be our responsibility to communicate that to all of the regional agencies, El Paso Emergency Management, Sheriff's Department, State Patrol, other governmental agencies.
I would think it would be the town's responsibility to notify those agencies of the plan they've adopted. If they adopt our plan, then it would be their responsibility to just say, okay, emergency management, this is our plan. And emergency management would say, okay, we're going to stick that in our file for Green Mountain Falls.
Okay.
But this should be a part of an overall emergency plan. I mean, we're in one little bitty scope of it.
Okay.
And which is a very important scope for up here. But when it comes to the emergency plan, then the town should have an overall plan. And this evacuation would apply to other things as well. We just happen to write it for fires. It would apply for snowstorms maybe, or tornadoes or whatever. The evacuation plan would probably pretty much cover the same thing other than floods. Because floods, we got a couple ways in and out of Green Mountain Falls that could get taken out real quick. But that's something the town's gonna have to figure out.
My assumption would be that the town manager would probably want to delegate that to somebody on this committee, and be basically essentially a liaison between the other partnering governmental agencies and then the town. That would be my assumption, though.
So as a committee, are we at the point that this evacuation plan that we are looking at right now, the maps and the narrative portion of the plan, forget notification for right now, because all this is evacuation. Are we at a point where we believe this is the evacuation plan that is now in final form and is ready to be submitted for final approval by the Board of Trustees?
Do we touch on the plan?
I would suggest that we add that notification piece just as like one sentence or two sentences at the end or a beginning, just basically, or somewhere in there that just says, here's what you need to do. You need to subscribe to Reverse 911. We're relying on that El Paso County system to be our notification for right now, because there's no sirens, there's no other notification thing in place. I would say once that's in there, maybe it is ready to be approved, but that's just my thought.
I was just looking at it, and this is kind of the first plan that we came up with.
Yes.
Later on, they took out all this stuff before and after. Did that get put back in? Did I miss it?
It has not been put back in. This was developed as just the evacuation component.
Okay,
So we would have an evacuation plan. But the before and after, is still pending for us to determine how we want to, is that what we need to decide? Is that part of education of the community?
it's
Yes.
definitely a large part of the education of the community.
So that's a separate piece that we need to take into account for, we've got it, I think later on here. How do we educate or provide information to the residents that's helpful to them, beyond just how to get out in the event of an emergency?
Yeah, and just to answer your question, David, I agree with Nate in that adding the how to sign up, the instructions for how to sign up for E911, and just kind of statements saying, look, further evacuation notification streams, to be determined or to be established. But I think it'd be good probably to add something in there about that. This is how you sign up for this program.
Yeah,
Okay,
Nate, you can go online and look at that. That's just the way I remember doing it, and it was quite a while back when I did it, so. But you should be able to go to E911, and that should still be on there because they do still have reverse 911.
Once that gets put in there, I think that we're pretty solid as far as presenting this to the board as a final draft.
Okay.
And then I'm losing my train of thought.
I'll help you. Did you get anything?
Yeah. I'm starting to get old now. It'll come back to me. Yeah, well, no one's as old as you.
No
Rich.
one's that old, I know.
I have a quick question. This is the first time I have seen these. They're great. They're instructions on what to do. Was this drawn up by somebody on the committee, or did we get that from somebody else, from another organization?
Well, Rich prepared the original document.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, all
then
this about
committee-
wearing durable clothing and everything, that's
Yes.
all yours. Okay, good.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. Sorry. Yeah, Rich did the lion's share on this. But yeah, as far as the notification and education of the town, we can maybe brainstorm as far as how we think that this should be disseminated amongst the town. But really, I mean, the town itself, the city and the board of trustees should already know how they like to get messages out to the town. Don't you think?
They use Facebook and not very well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, Facebook's a good way, but I don't know. I mean, do we need to be the committee that advises them how to disseminate information? I mean,
Well,
we can come up
part of
with
our
ideas.
part of our responsibility was to come up with recommendations or an evacuation plan and a notification plan.
And I thought we did that.
We have
But
presented a notification plan. Well, we've presented both. We've presented the notification and the evacuation plan. The notification plan we presented was siren only. That was all we.
Oh, yeah,
recommended.
because that was request for funds to do the siren.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And so that's been presented as our recommendation. Now we could go back and modify and say, we're recommending the siren and also these other methods.
I read that, but I can't remember exactly what it said, but
Yeah.
I,
So I'm happy to go with the recommendation of Dan and Nate in this case, that we add to this document that it is, our recommendation that all residents register with E911 as an emergency notification of any event.
Nate, can you go down to the next page? Page 7, okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, really what we're telling the board of trustees is that, look, everybody needs to sign up for E911 because that's the established notification stream for, that's out there. And then we will try to work on additional notification streams. I don't know if we need to put this in this letter or this
Now,
document or not.
because there's a lot of them already out there that we're actually part of the notification system. You know, Twitter through the county sheriff's department, that comes to everybody up here. If it's for your area, they tweet it out and there it goes. Facebook notification is hit and miss quite a bit.
I wish
Um,
Fred was able to chime in on this, because it'd be nice if we had somebody on the committee that was kind of a social media guru. Which I know
I
I'm
know,
not.
that's what I try to stay away from, unfortunately. But,
Yeah,
I don't know that
But
that's
I-
unfiltered.
I mean,
It's
that
fine.
could be part of a recommendation. We could say everyone should definitely sign up for the reverse 911. But if you know, Rich, that the county heavily uses Twitter, then we can say that. We can say Twitter is a tool definitely used by the county.
and again,
And-
the problem with other agencies, they use Twitter a lot, but not until they get the command system in place. If they've got an evacuation, they'll tweet it out immediately. And then it starts narrowing down after that. Once you get a PIO and all this other stuff that doesn't mean anything to us, then the PIO's responsibility is to go ahead and start putting out those Twitter feeds.
Speaking in acronyms, Rich.
Yeah, public information officer, sorry. So that public information officer, once he's in position, he starts doing all that, or she, or whoever it is. They start coordinating with the radio stations, the TV stations. They actually have emergency numbers into the TV stations for notification. And that's how you get those little scrolls across the bottom of your TV screen. So all that is all set up.
Yeah,
Does it apply directly to Green Mountain Falls? No. And it would be hard to get something to apply directly to 1,200 people.
yeah. There's so many different scenarios on which an evacuation could be initiated. You know, it could be that immediate get out right now. The fire is imminent, or it could be a pre-evac, or it could be, hey man, the fire is going to get there by the end of the day. Everybody needs to get out. You know, it's very situation dependent. So if it's that immediate, you know, like Chief Murphy is IC and he's like, we need to pull the trigger on getting everybody out. You know, that's going to be more of a, it's just going to be, you're not going to have that whole command structure set up. You're not going to have the PIO. You're not going to have a lot of streams for notifying public. If it's something that's in a day in advance, you know, you're going to have that. So, you know, it's hard to make a plan, you know, for something that is for an event that can be very dynamic. You know, the best thing for us to do is to make sure that people are signed up for all the streams possible, and that they know what to do and how to do it when the notification comes down. You know?
Well,
And
the most that we can do as a committee is provide this evacuation plan and tell people sign up for E911, because that's something they can proactively do to help themselves. And then everything else is already in place. The sheriff's department,
very much of it is, but like I say, I don't know what the emergency plan for the town currently is, how big that plan is or anything else. But most of all that other stuff is set up.
so
I mean, they're gonna send whatever resources they have available to help with evacuation. If we have a fire and we gotta evacuate immediately, if they got 2 patrol cars available, they're gonna send 2 patrol cars. If they got 15, they're gonna send 15. Like,
that's out of our,
it's really dramatic, and it's totally out of our realm.
so
The state patrol has 6 troopers that work the Ute Pass area. Will they send somebody? Sure. If there's somebody on duty, they'll send them, but there might be 2. So we can't say what's going to be available.
It's out of the realm of, you know, us on this committee. You know, me and my day job, it's within my realm. But that's
let's stick to what we as a committee can do, which is this plan and the recommendation that people sign up for E911.
And I think we met that goal
Okay.
for now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Nate, do
Yeah.
you want me to provide that, write that in there, or were you going to, or what,
I can write it up. I'll write it up and I can send it out to the committee or just to you, David, or whatever you want as
What if-
far as proofing
Yeah.
it.
I think this is in a Word document. I didn't project it. I think you can add it right to it. At the bottom or
well,
something?
this I think is PDF because it's in the
Was it?
agenda packet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll just add basically it'll be a third page or whatever or from here that just says, um, well, notification recommendation or something like that. And then just, here's how to sign up for the reverse E911.
Yeah. That would
Okay.
be helpful.
All right.
Then I can
Um,
send it to anyone if anyone wants to proof it. You could probably move to approve the plan, like if that's the next step to present it to the board or whatever, a finished plan, approve this essentially with the, contingency of adding that section. And then that way we don't have to approve it again, in a month or whatever.
I would really like to do that. I'd like to get it approved contingent upon that tonight so that we can present this at the next trustee meeting, which I think is next week.
No, they canceled. It's not till the 18th or something
Yeah,
like that.
Okay. All right.
19th, I think, or 12th or 19th, but
19th, yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm sorry. It might be the 12th. No, it's not. It's the week after that. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
regardless of what the date is, I'd like to be able to present it at the next one. But so would somebody like to make a motion that we are approving this plan subject to the addition of a notification instruction for E911, which will be sent to all of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee members for final approval prior to being presented to the board.
So moved.
Oh, okay. Second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Fred has, I don't know if y'all are following the chat, but Fred had an action item from the last meeting, which was to talk to Chief Murphy about this plan and show him the plan, because the board had asked that we get them to sign off on it. He said Chief Murphy really liked it. He suggested that we get the word out to GMF residents to sign up for reverse 911, thus getting instant contact with all GMF residents at the same time. So I think we've fulfilled the requirement that the trustees gave us. Okay.
Dave, does that mean that I don't have to wait for board approval to start talking about this on Facebook? About the E911? I mean, it seems to me.
Well, I think E911 is something everybody should do regardless of whether we have this or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
We're just formalizing our recommendation as the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody good with that?
I'm good with it.
Okay, thanks for everybody's input on that. I think that was very worthwhile to have that full discussion. Okay, so next agenda item, I believe, is Adrian, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Is that the next agenda item, Nate, is cost? Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for joining us again tonight. Adrian, I asked Adrian if he would come on and give us an update on the 53-acre grant that we have, and we talked about in the last meeting, the 8, I believe it was 8 acres. Let's see, how did it go? 5 acres was going to be for the town of Green Mountain Falls, 3 for private landowners, and 8 for historic Green Mountain Falls. What was it, Adrian?
So all in all, excuse me, the acres that we're looking at about a little bit over 7 acres on Thomas Trail. And that was just me out kind of walking around, so we can alter that, make it bigger, smaller, whatever. That area on Iona, Nate and I actually walked. It only ended up being a little bit over half an acre, which was kind of a surprise to all of us. And then that ended up being about 4.5 acres, connecting Wallace Reserve. Again, we can change that. We can make it bigger. Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation has committed to some money. So if we wanted to make that bigger or smaller, that's fine. There's just one chunk that we had to take out of there because it was basically meadow. And our grantors won't allow us to work meadow because there's no work to be done.
Okay.
So unfortunately right now, my update is pretty similar to what it was last time. We have it. I think we have an idea of what we want. These are the treatments that I would recommend personally. I'm more than willing to listen to your guys' opinion if you guys want to change things up. But now it's just a matter of I need to start reaching out to contractors that have hand crews because both these areas are not accessible by machine. So it's going to be difficult handwork and probably lop and scatter, just like it was on the kind of northeastern edge of the Thomas Trail, that stuff that you guys see in green there. So right now we're just kind of at a point where we're waiting for the right contractor. There's a few I'm going to start reaching out to because I'd like to start going on Thomas Trail and Wallace Reserve before we start working on the private properties, because I'm assuming that that'll be different contractors.
Okay.
Adrian, since you're going to bid with this, does it affect our ability to bring in like our El Paso County guys?
Like the Tava module and stuff like that, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I mean, if they want to, are you talking about like doing like a S212 training, like trigger time type thing?
Well, we can do that. We just got finished doing 212, but I just brought it up to the other supervisor in El Paso County. And if there's prescriptions written, he just wants to take a look at them. But if we know what needs to be done and, the deputy fire warden agrees to it, we can come up there and just work, here and there. We basically do that in county-owned parks right now. We'll go, there's a prescription written, we just go and we do it whenever we have free time. We'll go, drop the trees, buck them and do what the prescription says. So we could do that here as well.
Do I remember correctly that Tava is that a free thing that you guys do as training, or do you guys charge per hour or per acre, or how does that work?
It's free.
Okay.
And Tava would not be the primary, they wouldn't be the primary ones doing the work. It would be us in El Paso County.
Oh, okay.
So we would just come up, and when we have time, we'll just start chipping away at it. But I want to make sure that won't affect, if you put it out to contract and then they come out and we've already done some work, how does that work?
Let me double check. As of right now, I don't see a problem with that, because one of the people that I'm talking to about doing this is the guy that was helping me for that other part of Thomas, and his kind of mindset of it is, I'll do the downhill stuff. I don't want to do the stuff that's really high up. So it could be something that we split it between you guys. My only concern would be with the whole idea of we go out and we do it when we can. We do have, kind of quota for acres that we need to hit. It's not super strict, but we do need to be showing these things in our interim reports for these grants that we are hitting these milestones that we set out for the grant. But other than that, I mean, that might get a bit dicey. Let me check with my office and I'll make sure. But from where I'm sitting right now, I don't think that would be an issue. I think that'd be a huge help, actually.
Okay. And do you have prescriptions written for this already?
No, but I can write them up pretty quickly for you.
Yeah. As soon as you have one written up, just email me, and then we can take a look at the prescription and then walk it and make sure that we're comfortable with it. And then we'll go from there.
Okay. I'm in the field tomorrow. I believe Wednesday I'll be at my computer so I can write up a prescription maybe in the morning. And then if you're able to meet as quickly as Wednesday afternoon, we can possibly try for that, or next week is good too. Thursday and Friday I'll be in Cripple Creek doing some field work out there, but Wednesday and then next week I should be open.
Okay.
Adrian, what can you give us as far as a timeline on these acres that we have here on this map?
So that's where it gets a bit sticky. It's really going to come down to contractor timelines. And like I was saying, I only know of personally, I think 2, maybe 3 outfits that do handwork crews. Most contractors that I work with do machine work, which just simply isn't a possibility here. So with El Paso County, that can really help move things along. We've also been talking about, there's a group called, I believe it's called Higher Ground. They're out of Oregon, but they specialize in steep slope, rough terrain forestry. I'm going to reach out to them and see if there's any other similar types of groups. We have been trying to contact the Swift crew that actually did a lot of the work on this Thomas Trail section. They also did pretty much all of the Wallace Reserve section and the Mount Dewey section. With COVID, they were shut down a lot because it was an inmate crew. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of COVID outbreaks in the prison systems. So they were shut down for a long period of time, but we're trying to reach out to them right now and see what their situation is. But it's really, I don't even want to hazard a guess. Things are just kind of so much up in the air right now. I wouldn't expect this year.
Hey, Adrian, I went ahead and put in my El Paso County email in the chat.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
And I wish I can have a more specific answer. It's just things are kind of all up in the air right now, all over the place. Contractor schedules are really crazy. There's a contractor shortage. There's people moving certain things, that specialize in different areas. It's just really hard to nail something down right now.
Well, this is a question for the committee. Given that information, should we be considering at this point developing a team of volunteer people, sort of like Dan's talking about? I mean, it's not really volunteer people you're talking about, Dan, but there are people like Scott Usman, who is a resident of Green Mountain Falls, and others who have expressed a desire to get out and cut trees. I mean, should we be sort of developing a group of people that we say we want to get started on Iona, that half acre or whatever that is, 0.54 acres.
I think that's.
And here's the prescriptive work. Can we do that, or should we do that?
I think it's going to be a big liability issue if you do that. We're going to run into problems with, they say they're a Sawyer, or are they really a Sawyer? And then I would run that by the town as far as their liability, because it's going to be under their insurance and stuff.
Well, what I have been told by the town manager is that all we have to do is have people sign up as a volunteer, and they will be covered under the town's insurance policy.
Wow.
Wow. That's some pretty hazardous work.
Do they know what they're committing?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's some pretty hazardous work for people.
Did you tell her it was for sawing trees down?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started talking about Iona, we were talking about, Dan, you may remember, we were talking about trying to do that on a volunteer basis. And that's when I went and asked Angie how we could go about doing that. She said, just have people sign up as volunteers.
Did she put that in writing?
I would definitely talk to a lawyer about that.
No. Don't
We're
bring
talking to lawyers.
Well, the answer, Carolyn, yeah, I can tell you what the answer would be if you go to an attorney.
Yeah.
The attorney will say, no, you can't do
No.
that.
No, well, if she's willing to say, you know,
It's
put that in
permit-
writing and say, yep, this is the instructions for volunteers. This is what you got to do to engage in this activity, then man, I feel like we can get some work done.
One thing I will caution really quickly, as an organization, CUSP will only work with contractors that are insured. So if it's a volunteer thing that's not insured and we can't be named as, you know, a group on that insurance, that might be a situation where we may not be able to cover those costs. But if it's volunteer, there are no costs. But I just wanted to bring that up, that we can't work with contractors that aren't insured. And a lot of that area in Iona, it's probably not a big deal, but there are a few trees where things could go awry, and if they do, it'd be a pretty big deal. So just something to consider with that.
Well, we all have the benefit of, in the case of Rich and Dan and you, Adrian, as being very knowledgeable about all of this sort of stuff, more so than I or perhaps Nate or Carolyn or Fred. We have the benefit of sitting here and listening to this and understanding what the issues are, but we have, you know, for the most part, our residents in the town see dead trees everywhere. And there's this constant angst, anxiety, questions about what are we doing to resolve it. And, you know,
It sounds like somebody needs to just give some of these guys that are chomping at the bit in town, somebody just needs to give them permission. I mean, really, I think that there's people in this town, myself included, that would just say, you know what, I'm just going to hike a chainsaw up there, but I just need permission.
well, the only way we can get permission in that case would be to sign up as volunteers. And we can only work on town land. Now, the other thing to do would be to say, we're going to form a volunteer group that's going to cut dead trees on private property that people give us the permission to go on and cut.
Yeah, that's where we would be out as El Paso County. We can't do anything on.
You can't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with town-owned land, and I mean, Nate and I could go back to Angie and make sure she's aware that what we're saying is this is how did y'all put it?
It's hazardous.
Hazardous work, and would this be covered by the town's insurance?
I mean, look, I don't want to get the town in a bind, so I would definitely just kind of re-emphasize, you know, look, you did say that this is all they have to do and they're covered under the town's insurance, but just to re-emphasize that this is hazardous work, you know, there's potential for serious bodily harm and injury.
I don't think that'd be covered on private property. If
No,
they're
not
on
on private
town,
property.
if they're on,
No,
if they're on
no, they
town
would
property,
not.
that's another thing.
Yeah, just a town property. I mean, as long as the town managers, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't want to get I don't want to be, you know, do anything nefarious. I would want the town manager to make sure that she knows what she's agreeing to. But if they're willing to do that, I feel like, yeah, you might have some vigilantes going out there and taking some trees.
So I would just say a couple things. First of all, at CUSP, we have volunteer projects that we do a lot. So we do have a special insurance that takes care of volunteers. One of the big sticking points is volunteers are not to be within 50 feet of a chainsaw. So even though you do have insurance that cover, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, even though you do have insurance that covers volunteers, you know, chainsaw is a whole different game. It's a whole different game. Also, you know, I understand that people want to get moving and there is that angst, and I love that. That's one of the things that I really like about working in Green Mountain Falls is it's easy to get that involvement because people really want to get going. It's just, unfortunately, these things do kind of move a little bit slowly. They're trickling down through, you know, from federal to state to us. So it does take a little while to get these award letters actually signed and sent to us. And the third thing that I would be really, really careful about is if you're saying, you know, go ahead, go out there, cut trees, take trees when you want, it's almost impossible to make sure that we're staying to a prescription. People are going to go out and take the big hefty firewood trees and not necessarily the trees that we want to take. And you're gonna lose the ability to control that mitigation and forest fuels and forest health project from turning it to a forest health and natural range of variability project to more of a I want this tree, I'm going to take it type deal, is what I would caution.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, people who were given permission to go out there and do that are they're gonna want some guidance, like, or what are we supposed to be taking? What are we supposed to be leaving? So I don't know how that looks, but
Well, and you know, we do have
rules.
this funding that we're bringing and that the town's committed to, and Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation's committed to hire these professional workers. Unfortunately, it's just a matter of getting them to the table right now. So that's my suggestion is we unfortunately it's going to take a minute, but I think we need to keep going the path that we're going down and not just to open it up to volunteers. Unless it's like a trained outfit, like, you know, what Daniel was saying, like a trained outfit that's willing to follow a prescription, that's one thing. Just volunteers in town, I think, is a dangerous notion.
So let's table this idea of a volunteer group for tonight. Let's accept the fact that, you know, Adrian, you're doing all you can do to move this project along according to a project scope. But what I'd like to do in our next meeting of this committee is I'd like for all of you and Nate and I, or I can find out a little bit more about the you know, the town's ability to ensure volunteer workers, number one. And just let's explore the what we can do on a volunteer basis that makes sense, and let's, you know, put some ideas together and see if there's something that we can do that helps tackle the problem. What do y'all think about that?
No, I think that's great. I mean, one of the things that we could do for us in El Paso County is, as long as the prescription is something that is acceptable, as long as the terrain is something that we're able to accept the risk on, you know, we can establish additional mitigation areas that don't have to have, you know, CUSP involved and that don't have a timeline. So something like that could be an option.
Okay.
And there are some things that volunteers can do during cutting and scattering and things of that nature that don't involve a chainsaw.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can have a lot of people swamping and only a few people cutting, and you can get a lot of work done.
Yeah, because once that tree comes down, then the work begins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, a big way to get good volunteer time that's beneficial to the whole community as well. You know, moving and stacking firewood for pre-collection somewhere that's always needed. So if we have volunteers who want to do that, that's fantastic.
Okay.
I can start the conversation with Angie just about, you know, the liability situation and the, I guess the expectations from her on volunteer work.
Just
All right.
start the conversation by saying that volunteer is free.
Yeah.
So would y'all formalize your thoughts a bit more before the, you know, for our next meeting, and let's plan to put some real time and discussion on that and try to develop something that makes sense for us to tackle this outside of CUSP, and whether or not it can be, you know, we could do something that's on private land or not, or only on town-owned land, but let's try to come up with something that we can start moving forward on tackling the problem.
All right, I
Fir-
will,
yeah, first, I think first thing to do is to make it easy is tackle right of ways.
Okay.
Those belong to
Well,
the town.
Well, so that would be, that would be a recommendation that, we'd want to talk about in this meeting is right of ways is one of the things that we go after, which needs to be done. Okay, well, let's table that and say that that's going to be an agenda item for discussion in our next meeting.
I'm gonna get that email from Adrian, and get the prescription that he has for the established areas.
Mhm.
And then I think what I'm probably gonna do is sit down with the other supervisor in the county and talk to him about coming out and doing a site visit and discussing, where we think maybe additional projects outside of CUSP are. And then maybe we can come up with a plan from the county.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Dan.
Mhm.
Next map that I think we have here, or what is our next agenda item, Nate? Is it this map? Nope, it's the new Facebook page for public education and communication. That's Carolyn.
What, do you want to talk about it? Is that it?
Yeah, there's
yeah.
some new information I think that has come out that I saw from Nate, where I think that a decision has been made that the town does not want the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee to have its own Facebook page.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I don't think that my conversation was, excuse me, my conversation with Angie was not specific to Facebook, but basically the opinion of Angie is that because and I think it's accurate, because the Fire Mitigation Committee is an official town committee, all sort of all communication and information has to basically be vetted by staff and essentially published by staff and managed by staff. So that's what that is. But she also said that we can dedicate time to do that. So I think last time we talked a lot about, Matt had his opinion about how much work that may be. I don't think it's as much work as what he was assuming it would turn into, but I think it'd be relatively easy on the town Facebook page to establish some pages, informational pages, an education page, links to the evacuation stuff. However many pages we need, we can create under the basically let's see if I can get the
Hey, just real quickly, Adrian, we don't necessarily want to hold you up. If you want to drop off, that's fine. I really appreciate you attending again tonight and giving us an update on the grant and where we stand with getting that rolling. So if you need to or want to drop off, please, do so. If you want to hang on, then for our meeting, that's fine too.
I
Adrian?
think he already jumped off.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you can still see the web page here.
Yeah.
So we could essentially create another, just like Planning Commission has, a main page and then a PC agenda minutes page, but we can create pages here. And then it's just a matter of pointing to those pages from whatever Facebook accounts are out there. I know the town doesn't really keep up with, the official town Facebook, but I mean, we could make it a point to do certain things or to kind of put out messaging every, whatever that looks like, every other week or something, just to keep people reminded about fire stuff. It's not that time consuming. It's just a matter of kind of getting the initial structure set up for the fire mitigation committee, because so additional pages for that, and then presenting that information, and then that could be linked back to from the Facebook stuff, whoever's doing all that. So that's basically the current stance from administration on how that should work.
So Carolyn, any thoughts on that?
Well, this is all news to me, and I'm sort of processing it, I guess. Yeah. I think it could work. I know that Jane Newberry has a real thing about, and she says her lawyers back this up on this, and that is that, I mean, the way, okay, let me back up. The way that I had originally planned to do this, or we had originally planned to do this, is to post, the Fire Mitigation Committee would have its own Facebook presence in the name of Homer Mitigation, okay? And it was, because I didn't want my name to be on it because I do other stuff on Facebook and stuff, but so the Fire Mitigation was going to post stories about, fire mitigation for homes and all this other stuff. We were going to post it on the regular Green Mountain Falls Facebook page, which is not it's not a product of the town. It's different from the Facebook pages that the town runs. And it was going to be signed. I mean, all the members of the Fire Mitigation Committee would be at the bottom. Their names would be at the bottom. I just felt it was important that people know who's on the committee and stuff like that. Now, Jane Newberry will have a problem with this, I guess, given this new information, because she says that the town should not be putting any announcement or anything like that out, because she's afraid that it's going to be construed as a meeting because, of comments and things like that. My position is that if something is announced, like she doesn't even want the Facebook page, which incidentally has more than 3,000 readers, or at least members on it. She doesn't want to even have notification of Board of Trustees meetings to come out there. And so a lot of times people don't know. I mean, I write it up and everything, but that's not official. But she doesn't want anything to come out on our Facebook page. And my position is that if you put it on the town website first, and you put it in whatever notification you do with the newspapers, that is notification. And that after that, it should be fine, because the town has already done its duty to notify people. And so I really have kind of a problem. I mean, quite frankly, who even knows about the existence of the town's website, website, but also the town's Facebook page? Who knows about it? Do a lot of people check it? I didn't know about it until this year sometime. And the same thing with the town website. I mean, I'm constantly putting links in stories and things like that. Maybe people are getting used to it. But as far as getting information to them, I'm not sure people really think about the town website that much. That's why we,
what we're really getting at here is a way to reach people and inform them about high value information related to fire mitigation, fuels mitigation, the availability of grants and money to help private landowners, just anything to do with helping people understand how to harden their structures, or training programs that we might have at the Wallace Reserve. It's just would be a way to communicate with the town residents more information than they've ever gotten before regarding fire mitigation and the efforts related to how they can help themselves and what help is available to them. And so I think, Carolyn, what you're saying is using the town website, your view is that's not effective because you're not sure how much people go to the town website as a source of information. Whereas another venue, if you will, is social media, i.e. Facebook. Is that the bottom line?
Well, like I said, it's Facebook, the Green Mountain Falls independent Facebook page that I moderate and I write for has more than 3,000 people on it. Now, I suppose a modification, if the town would let me do it, would be to at least put a notice every time we have something that we want to post on the town website through the Fire Mitigation Committee. I could post on there with a link to it. And so they wouldn't read it on the Facebook page, but they would at least know about the link, and they could easily punch that and access it.
So Nate, is this an official position of the town manager that she's saying this Facebook page that we've developed for the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee is not sanctioned by the town, and we cannot and should not continue to do this? What is the statement?
I believe that's the that's the decision by the current administration. But like Carolyn was saying, I think I don't think there's there could be events, that come up that are changing, that are new information. But I think that once there's sort of a baseline of information that exists on the town website, like about the CUSP grant, situation, a lot of that stuff is not going to change. It's just going to be available, and if there's new information that comes out of a meeting or whatever that then staff posts, then that is then available on the official town medium of the website and or the town official Facebook page. But then and staff is willing to do those things. And then like Carolyn's saying, if she moderates this other site, people moderate whatever other sites, they can all kind of reference back to that information, that official information from the town. But there should not be a Facebook page specific to the Fire Mitigation Committee, because that's not a sanctioned official page of the town, if that makes sense.
So I would like to have an official statement from the town manager that says, say whatever, but essentially if her position is that we cannot have this Facebook page that's the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee Facebook site, I would like for her to put that in writing to the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee.
Okay.
I think we should have that in writing, that she's telling us absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's not not allowed, will not be allowed, whatever.
Now, listen, we were talking, let's not talk about, we weren't talking about having an official, well, I'm sorry, David, we were more or less talking about this avatar, if you will, for the Fire Mitigation Committee, the avatar named Homer Mitigation, okay? And Homer was going to be posting on the regular on my, shall we say, Facebook page, the Green Mountain Falls Facebook page, the one that 3,000 people read, okay? Homer would be posting just like anybody else. And then the idea had been so I don't want to confuse it. I mean, so I want to make clear that she's saying Homer should not exist, and or at least we can't post stories on the Facebook page.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want on Facebook, but you can't do it on behalf of the town.
Well, the articles
You can point to information that the town publishes as its official, information that exists, but we can't say, here's Homer, he's the spokesman for the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, that has this online life of its own that takes place. There has to be a limit to where town posts its information, and anything that's not town business,
I'm not gonna,
essentially,
yeah, I'm not going to post it. I'm not going to post it with my name. It's got to come from the Fire Mitigation Committee.
and that information will exist on the website or the town Facebook page. And then
Okay.
whoever can do whatever they want with it from there.
Well, all I'll probably do is just run an announcement alerting people of these articles.
And
And does that mean that,
any member of the public who
does
attends,
that mean that Angie wants to write the articles herself?
No.
and any member of the public who attends these meetings can put the information on whatever Facebook page they want, correct?
Right. Yeah. The information will exist as a sort of the official repository of Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. That information will exist on the town website. It will be developed and updated based on what the committee thinks is helpful as advisory things to residents of the town, but it's not going to, that is a controlled space for the town. Only staff can edit that. Only staff can edit the town Facebook page. So there's this element of control there that needs to exist, basically, is the
So she will be, or the town staff will be responsible then for vetting any information to come across, to come on that website page.
Yeah, and I don't think any of it's going to be controversial or a problem. It's just, if there is something that is questioned, then that's where there may be some sort of, legal review or something, just to make sure something's not just totally out of whack. But I think this subject, I don't think, is very controversial. It's just, it can't, Homer the whatever can't have a Facebook page that lists all the members of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, because then that essentially is looking like that's a site that's speaking for this official entity of the town.
I
You know
have,
what I mean? So it's basically controlling where the information exists, and staff is willing to, put up events that are coming up on the town Facebook page, or, things that are particularly important. The town is willing to devote some time to that on the Facebook page, but really the main repository of information needs to be on the town website.
I have two specific examples that I would like to know whether or not, what to do with this. First example is what Rich mentioned earlier. When we developed an evacuation and notification plan, he referred to the items that were on that original document, which were the things you should do before the evacuation and the things you should do after, which we made a decision to separate those and just focus on the evacuation event. And so those other things would be sort of like education tools to let people know, here are the things that you should be doing.
Right.
Okay. The other item that I'll use as my example, Mayor Newberry in the last Board of Trustees meeting, when we presented the cusp work that was to be performed that we were discussing earlier tonight, she said, could the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee provide a map of the locations where this work will be taking place and have it printed so it can be distributed at various places throughout the town, and also include the contact information for Michelle Connolly and Adrian Knight with CUSP, and their phone number, email, whatever, to let people know that that's who they contact for getting access to the grant funding that's available. So Mayor Newberry has asked that we produce essentially a printed map with information. I don't know. I don't have any resources to do that. I mean, I don't have the equipment, the machinery, the time, the money, any of those things. The town's going to have to do that.
Right.
Not
And
me.
that could all be posted on the town website.
Well, that's my point. So that
Under
could
a
be posted
fire
on the town
mitigation-
website. And what about the training or the educational materials that we as the committee want to present to people? Can that be put on the town website?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no disagreement with all that.
Okay. All right.
It's just, so like under here, so like PRT Advisory Committee has a page, Fire Flood has 3 pages. So we could essentially create like fire mitigation. There could be an education page. There could be a grant information page. There could be a evacuation information page,
Mhm.
and then we can decide as a committee, like maybe how that is structured, or, what's the best format. I could certainly take a stab at it myself, and get it set up in a way that makes sense, and then post certain things to Facebook, the events or the things that are particularly time sensitive or whatever. And then those things can then be linked to by other people like Carolyn, who are active and have followers and things like that. I think that, kind of, if that makes sense as a structure, but there was no concern about what the content was or how much it is, or what we think needs to be on there. It was just the fact of where the message is coming from, where the information is coming from, and how it needs to be kind of in these official spots.
Okay.
And also I was going to say, lost my train of thought on another point, but yeah, that can be relatively easily done here, creating pages, creating content, adding information that the committee thinks is important to add. I don't foresee that being a problem. Oh, the maps is what I was going to mention. And we do have GIS, and we have that capability to print those things and create PDFs of maps and everything. In this case, CUSP had essentially already done those maps that you were talking about. Those are the maps that I basically included in this
Right.
packet. So I just reached out to her, to their GIS person. I was just like, hey, we've been requested a map like this, but I assume you probably already have something like that. So that's where those maps came from. But we can make maps with all the data we've collected so far.
Okay, well, I guess what at this point, I'd like to hear from the other committee members in terms of, is this, from your perspective, do you all support or agree that the education component of what we as a committee want to do, do you believe that writing articles or having information available on the town website under a separate tab like Nate has laid out will be an effective way of communicating with the residents and property owners of Green Mountain Falls?
It can be. Well, I
I'm
mean,
not sure how many people use that website. I mean,
Yeah, well, I
Well,
think that's
we
Carol's
use it,
point.
how many others do?
well, and you can
Well,
also, if you just link to it through the other social media sites, then people can and will use it. I mean,
They'll get used to the location. They'll get used to, but it does still, I'm not saying it doesn't still depend on people like Carolyn or us that are passionate about this, that, I mean, it's still going to rely on that type of activity. It's just that, number one, it's going to be both, it's going to be the official sources, but yet enhanced by activity of Carolyn and others that point to the information and that get it sort of talked about and have it more of a common knowledge that this information does exist out there, and it'll hopefully grow people's awareness to the website, quite honestly.
Certainly worth a try. It's certainly worth, I mean, yeah, I'm for it.
Another way to
Okay.
get out a lot of information, the town has a dedicated board in the post office. But the only thing I've ever seen them post there is their minutes. Why couldn't we post some of this information there?
Well, in fact,
That is
that's what the
yeah.
mayor was asking for, was that we print copies of this map that shows where CUSP's work is going to be done, and the contact information for CUSP for people to get information on cost sharing grant funds. And she wanted it placed at the post office.
Well, that
can
board
do
they
that
have
too.
is under lock and key. I happen to know it's there because we post our fire meetings there, but it's always full. And in order to post anything there, you have to take stuff down.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that's
there's probably some census stuff, some other stuff that can be taken down, but we can definitely do that.
yeah, because there's a lot of people that see that in there. If they have a post office box in Green Mountain Falls, they usually see it.
Okay.
And we could also do the same in Cascade. We can distribute stuff down there.
Okay.
I don't have a key there, but we do have a
They
key to
don't
the
have
agreement.
theirs is just an open board.
Okay.
Well, I guess going back to what I was asking to get from Angie is just sort of an official guidance from the town manager that says the town's position is anything that the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee wants to publicly state can be done through the town's website through a special tab set up and dedicated to the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. I mean, just so long as I have something that gives us some guidance on what we can do.
Okay. I'll talk to her about it tomorrow.
Okay. And if y'all need to get on, if it would help, Nate, that the three of us get on the phone and talk through it, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll talk to her and schedule something if we need to, or just have her start with an email or whatever. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that topic? What's next on our agenda, Nate?
It was that survey, I believe. Let me go back up to that tree mortality report.
Yeah, I really wanted that included only because I had never seen it.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure if Dan had gotten it or where it went, but you know, if you all recall, we had the Colorado State Forest Service come in and do a tree mortality assessment on the Iona tract. And somebody asked me about it the other day and said, whatever became of that? And I said, well, you know, that's a good question. I never saw the report. So I just wanted the committee to have access to the report, and here it is, in case you hadn't seen it. Dan, did you get it? Dan, you're on mute.
He's muted.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, I was just trying to look for it. Yes, I did get it.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right.
Yep, and I'm sorry. I just assumed that was sent out. But I can send that out to everybody.
No, I mean, that's the whole reason I wanted it published in this meeting, is so that everybody did, you know, that I could make sure that everybody did get it and saw it. So that we would all be on the same page. And I just forgot about it, frankly, until I was asked the other day, and it made me think, gee, we probably ought to get a copy of that. So.
Yep, I'll send out a copy
Okay.
once I can find it.
Okay, great. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Is this the same thing that you're talking about though, Dan? Is this, or did you have an additional report? Or is this the same as what you're seeing on the agenda? here?
This is that's it.
It's
yes,
pretty short and
that's the-
sweet, but it is some good information about what, you know, the mistletoe and how that interacts with how that kind of paves the way for the beetles.
Yep. And I mean, it gives good advice on how we deal with the firewood, and it's all basically confirmation of what we had talked about before, as far as the firewood not going out of the town and for town residents only, things like that.
Okay. All right.
But yeah,
Good, thanks.
if you don't have it, Nate, you have it.
Yeah, it's right here, or just this one page, unless you have a more detailed one, but I just have this one page document here.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's it. I'll double check my email, but I'll find it and I'll send it out.
That's corresponding map that was in, I don't think, it was in a different document, but.
Okay.
And I did walk this with Adrian. I guess my one concern on doing work there is that, you know, he's just using a handheld GPS device that's not, it's not a survey. So
Right. Yeah.
I think that at the least we should probably reach out before any work's done, is probably reach out to those owners one way or another. And I don't mind. I could go up there, I guess, sometime and just knock on doors or leave something perhaps, but just I'd hate for someone to be an uproar about, oh, what are you doing on my property, cutting down, you know, my stuff. I mean, there's no, without surveying it, you know, he's marked out what he thinks are likely the property lines, but there's really no you know, like I said, it's probably accurate within 10 feet maybe, you know. I mean, that's, so anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, I understand that, Nate. On the other hand, I would say we have a town ordinance which says, and it talks about nuisance trees being diseased and dead, and it's the property owner's responsibility to remove them. But if they don't, the town can do it.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah,
have to go through a process though before we start removing trees using that.
Well,
Probably.
I'm remembering the last Board of Trustees meeting at the end, Virgil started saying that he was going to start issuing citations to property owners because they weren't cutting their grass. So my thought was, well, heck, if you're going to start issuing citations for people whose grass is not cut, let's start issuing citations to people whose trees are dead.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference, right?
They're both something that haven't been enforced that much.
Exactly.
They used to be enforced quite a bit. They haven't been enforced in, let's say 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we see what the result of that is. The town is full of dead trees
Mhm.
And weeds.
and weeds. Exactly. All right. Well, so what's out next on our agenda then?
I believe just, this
Just
citizen
committee
notif-
reports so, yeah. Okay. Well, this kind of goes to the issue of notifying, the town's residents that there is now cusp money available for private property. And I was talking to Adrian last week, and he told me that we had 4 property owners who had come to them and said they wanted to participate. 2 have committed, and there's a 5th one that has emerged. But he said, bottom line is we have 3 acres that we sort of set aside to do this year. And so far we only have landowners that in total are about 1 acre. So, we have these funds available. We just need to make sure that people are aware that they can access these funds by participating in this. And, to me, a great way to put this out there would be, if it's on the town website, and we could reference that through a link on the Facebook page, Carolyn, to let people know this money is available.
Mhm.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I
don't know
could
what
put
y'all
that
think
on the
about that.
town Facebook page as well, and the website.
Yeah.
I can
So,
create maybe the initial Facebook link or whatever, and then Carolyn could link to that or do whatever she wants with that. But we could certainly create that information. I'll write up something that can, I guess, describe the process and then kind of run it by cusp just to make sure that's accurate, and then just kind of put that information out there on the site to get it started, and then do a Facebook post to link to it. Does that make sense?
Nate, some of this would be, I mean, would some of this be looking ahead to planning for 2022? Or are they trying to get, are we just talking about 2021?
to me, this grant funding is available
No.
this year, 22, 23, and 24.
Okay.
So, I mean, we need to get our residents, to know, first of all, we need to inform them that this money is available, and it's available over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And so maybe they can't afford it today, but maybe next year they can. But we need people to participate and take advantage of this funding. And it's not going to pay for the whole thing, but it'll pay for about 30% of the cost.
Yeah, that was an article that I was going to write, but if Nate wants to do it, that's great.
Well, yeah, I'll just outline the steps, kind of like a procedural thing, more or less, nothing too creative, but something that exists, that at least can exist on the website and the Facebook, and at least create an initial Facebook page from the town that can be distributed.
Sure. That's perfect.
Okay. Gosh, Nate, you've taken on quite a list of things to do.
I know. I'll have to review the minutes to make sure I remember them all. Good thing that's my job anyway.
Okay. Do we have any other items that we need to cover here? Reports on, we've talked about notification and evacuation, fuels mitigation. To me, our next meeting, if we could really focus on some ideas and thoughts on developing a volunteer or a program to help on fuels mitigation. That would be helpful. And of course, this ongoing education piece, I think we need to continue to develop that. Even if, I don't care where it's posted, if it's also posted on the town's website, and Carolyn references it in the town Facebook page with a link, that'd be great. What have we got here?
This is just a document. I just wrote up a couple of things that came from Anne, just some helpful links, but also things that we could put on the website just for education sources. The Colorado State Forest Service has tons of information out there. And so I thought this is just kind of a sample of some of the different things that they have. But for instance, this protect your home. I mean, it's pretty much a full guide for what all you need to do. So it's like Rich has said, I think many times, it's all out there. It's just a matter of sort of consolidating it and making it available and organizing, and just organizing it simply and making it available. And then just getting those links out to people. So there's tons of stuff out here on the CSFS site. There's guides about exactly like what you should do to harden your home, and so just a ton of information that we can kind of start with as a base for the education. Whoops, excuse me. So education portion of the site. Oops, what did I do here? So anyway, let me get. I don't know where the agenda went.
I think it's a great idea to have all those links somewhere that are easily accessible for people. And if we have a fire mitigation advisory committee tab on the homepage that says links with public information available, here's a list of them, and people, if they're want to know what to do, here it is.
Yeah. So these are just some random kind of links I thought were particularly good, and Anne had sent a couple of this Colorado Division of Homeland Security, and that has information on a bunch of stuff there. But if you ever wonder if there's a ban or not, that's a good place to go to start. And then of course we could put stuff like that, the Paradise Fire stuff out there for people to watch, and all sorts of links. I mean, I don't think there's any controversy from the administration about, what we're trying to put out there to educate people. It's all reasonable and factual information. So this only other thing here that was this hyper reach. This is something that Matt sent along to me after he left. But it's an emergency mass notification system, but I think it would cost, it says it's free, but I think that's free for the public. The town or someone would have to subscribe to it, but it sounds like we have already a pretty decent reverse 911 throughout El Paso County. So I think we should just kind of focus on that as being the recommendation from the committee, at least for now.
Nate, when you said Anne, did you talk about Anne on the committee here?
Yeah, Ann Ash.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she sends information pretty regular, just emails, whatever she comes across that may be helpful information. So I just kind of included those on this list. So thank you, Ann.
Yes, thank you, Ann.
So anyway, so that's a good, somewhat of a start for a potential education page, and then I'll write up the, I'll clarify the process for CUSP, and then just write out hopefully just a brief description of that program and how they can get involved with CUSP. I think it's best if the town staff is, least involved with that. I think what the fire mitigation committee should probably do is, we kind of have the areas kind of defined now on sort of what's what's next in general here from the cusp point of view, but the town maybe, or the committee maybe want to just kind of maybe formalize a recommendation, what's next after these areas, you know, maybe something to talk about next time, and we can kind of continue adding to that map and call it, you know, priority areas, you know, that the committee recommends, or whatever that language is.
Yep, I agree. Well, I think.
Nate, on the cusp thing, back on the cusp thing, yeah, I just, and I'm sure you probably will do this, you know about this already, but it's very important that cusp feels it's very important to make sure that people understand that the money is not coming from cusp. Cusp is only facilitating the grants, and I would personally like to see where the money is coming from. I mean, the grants. I mean, yes, I asked Michelle about that once, and I mean, they're very willing to get that, but CUSP wants to make absolutely sure that people don't want to think that CUSP it's CUSP money. They're just sort of the link or whatever.
Okay, yeah, good to know.
Yeah.
Well, the 53 acres that they currently have that we've been talking about is Colorado, is coming from the state of Colorado.
Mm.
There's a 40-acre grant that's still pending that is a federal grant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you're right. CUSP is not the source of the funds. They're the administrator of the funds.
Yeah, it's often easy to not not get it the first time.
Well, you know,
Very convoluted.
yeah, CUSP is the coalition of the Upper South Platte, which is basically the watershed preservation, and that's what they're real interested in, is in the preservation of the watershed.
Mhm.
And the forest is part of that, which, you know, so they're getting funds that help them preserve the watershed. So yeah, it gets complicated. Okay. Anybody have anything else we want to cover tonight? Nope. Okay. Homework assignment for next time is to actively think about this issue of how we might put together a volunteer effort, what types of activities a volunteer effort would do, where they might work. And Rich had a great example of that, was rights of way. So let's just come together. I mean, Dan, you talked about the organization that you work with having some availability to do these kind of things. So let's just come together with all these ideas and try to come up with a plan. And as Nate said, we start targeting some specific areas of the town that we might want to go after, independent of CUSP or anybody else. That sound like a plan?
Yep.
All right.
That's good.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate y'all's time and work on this committee on behalf of the town. And I really appreciate that that you are part of this committee, and I enjoy working with you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Likewise.
Thanks, David.
Oh, and listen, we need a 5th member, advisory committee member. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. If you come across anybody that would be a good addition, we still are looking to fill that position.
Yeah, we got to get Fred's audio fixed.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. If no one has anything else, let's adjourn this meeting. Effective, what is it, 8:38 p.m.
Yep.
All right.